Hello, Miss Huan, everyone. I'm Huyền from class SMk03, and welcome to my presentation on Section 1 and 2 of Sensory Marketing. Let's start with Section 1, Sensory Marketing Principles. This section looks at how global trends, individual lifestyle shape how we buy things and how brands use our five senses to connect with us. First, let's talk about our five senses and why are they so important. Humans have five senses: sight, hearing, smell, touch, and taste. These senses help us understand the brands and products. But here's the key point. Sensory input doesn't just give us information. It makes us feel emotions and influences our buying decisions. For example, nice smells in stores, background music, or how something feels can make us like a brand more. And most of the time, we don't even realize this is happening. So here's what makes this so powerful. Sensory experiences often operate unconsciously, forming strong emotional bonds with brands before we even think about it. Companies must understand these processes to design impactful, memorable experiences that go beyond just product features. Now, what's happening in today's marketing world? Two major forces are reshaping marketing today. First, there is a global cultural shift from traditional values to self expression. We call this the I society. People want to be independent and show their personal identity. This means consumers now seek brands that support their unique identities and lifestyle, not just functional benefits. And second, digital technology like social media and smartphones have empowered consumers to share authentic feedback and experiences instantly. This is crucial because digital platforms now allows people to broadcast their brand experiences in real time, making every customer interaction a potential marketing movement. Young people, especially Generation X, Y, and Z, demand personalized, multisensory experiences that work seamlessly both online and offline. This leads us to how people live today. Society has fundamentally shifted from collectivism to individualism, placing personal identity and self expression at the center of consumption decisions. Now, people make choices based on self fulfillment, focusing on health, sustainability, and quality of life rather than just following group trends. And here's the transformation: brands have become tools for identity creation such as only an Apple product or Ferrari says something about you and who you are, not just what the product does functionally. And this is where multisensory experiences become essential. According to Gestalt theory, holistic experiences that engage multi senses simultaneously are far more impactful than isolated sensory inputs. Marketers must address self-fulfillment, identity expression, and comprehensive sensory engagement to build deeper consumer relationships. So, what's the science behind this? Let me explain the key theories in detail. First of all, is the model of sensory marketing. It works like this: our five senses create sensation, which shapes perception, then generates emotion and cognition, which ultimately affects our attitude, learning, and memory, and behavior as well. This shows that sensory inputs are tightly linked to emotions and mental processing, directly driving consumers' actions. And the second one is the SOR model, aka the stimulus organism response. This framework explains how environmental stimuli like music, lighting, or scans affect our emotional states, including arousal, dominance, and pleasure levels, which then lead to approach or avoidance behaviors. The practical implications in here is that the retailers should strategically design environments that encourage positive emotional responses and approach behaviors. And also, there's a multisensory shopping behavior framework, including all five senses interact holistically to shape the affective responses and cognitive effects and shopping behavior as well. For example, upbeat music combined with pleasant scans can dramatically improve the store perception and increase the consumption of the customers. There are three marketing approaches. First one is the transaction marketing. It focuses on the traditional 4 Ps, which is the product, price, place, promotion, using mass marketing with passive consumers. The second one is the relationship marketing. It builds a long-term relationships and emphasizes two-way communication and customer retention. And the third one is sensory marketing, centers on the experience logic and identity creation, using individualized sensory experiences, employing multi-dimensional communication in both physical and digital spaces. These approaches complement each other, with sensory marketing emphasizing personalized, sensory-driven value creation. So, what is sensory marketing? Sensory marketing strategically uses our five senses to create meaningful, memorable brand experiences that emotionally connect with consumers. Firm develops sensory strategies to influence the senses, actively shaping consumer experiences, perceived value, and brand image. The individual, aka the consumer, are active co-creators of value, not passive recipients. Companies should provide engaging, personalized experiences that help people express their identity and build emotional connections. Importantly, sensory marketing addresses five distinct experience types: sense, sensory experiences; feel, affective experiences; think, cognitive experiences; act, behavioral experiences; and relate, social experiences. This creates a truly holistic brand experience. And the firm, aka the companies function as strategic orchestrators because they design and implement sensory experiences to build meaningful brand connections. Their key responsibilities include managing service processes, developing specific sensory strategies for each sense, creating integrated multi-sensory experiences, and consistently reinforcing brand image through carefully chosen sensory elements. And I would like to mention the sensory marketing model. This comprehensive model demonstrates how companies use service processes and sensory strategies to systematically activate all five senses, creating sensations and cues that form multisensory brand experiences, ultimately driving both consumer value and brand image enhancement. Let me give you a detailed example of Starbucks. Starbucks exemplifies masterful sensory marketing by designing store environments that strategically engage all five senses. Here's how they do it. For smell, they use the rich aroma of freshly roasted coffee beans. For sound, they carefully created store music that matches their brand personality. For sight, they use warm lighting, appealing visual displays, and consistent brand aesthetics. For touch, the tactile experiences of the cups, textures, and store furnitures defines the touch, and the taste is the distinctive flavor profiles of their beverages. These sensory triggers work together to create immersive, memorable experiences that foster strong emotional connections and customer loyalty for Starbucks. The result? Starbucks isn't just selling coffee, they are selling a complete sensory lifestyle experience that customers want to return to again and again. So, to wrap up for section one, sensory marketing is essential for building emotional connections and creating personalized experiences in today's digital and individualized world. By applying key models and strategies across all consumers' touchpoints, brands can create lasting value and stand out in an increasingly competitive market. Now let's move on to section 2, the sensory brain. Have you ever wondered why you choose Coca-Cola over Pepsi or why you feel good walking into certain stores? The answer lies in neuromarketing, a fascinating field that combines neuroscience and marketing to understand how our five senses affect purchasing decisions at the deepest brain level. Let me start with a fundamental principle. Your brain doesn't process products as separate, isolated features. It experiences them as unified, holistic experiences. The Gestalt theory in action stated that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, applies directly to consumer experiences. Take IKEA for example. When you walked in, you don't just see the individual pieces of furniture. Your brain simultaneously processes colors, textures, wood skins, spatial design, and assembly concepts. Everything works together to create a complete brand memory that sticks powerfully in your mind, right? So here's the key insights. As your senses, what you see, hear, smell, touch, and taste, combine in the perceptual process, sensory cues like store scans, product textures, and even brand jingles leave lasting impressions that shape mental brand images, which in turn significantly influence buying decisions. This integrated sensory input creates much stronger brand recall than any single sense alone. Now, here's something truly amazing about your brain's processing power. First of all, it's about the consciousness versus the unconsciousness. Your brain receives approximately 11 million bits of sensory input every second, but only 0.01%, just 40 bits per second, reaches the conscious awareness. The remaining 99.99% is processed unconsciously, shaped by your culture and past experiences. These unconscious processes guide your daily actions and brand perceptions without you even realizing it. The trillion brain structure, which means that your brain operates on three distinct levels. The first level is the cerebral cortex, is the primate brain. The top level handles the higher reasoning, language, memory, perception, and conscious decision making. It's divided into the left hemisphere, including the logic, language, and analytical thinking, and the right hemisphere what handles the creativity, emotion, and spatial awareness. And the second level is the limbic system, aka the mammalian brain. The middle level regulates the emotions, memories, and social behavior. The key structures include a amygdala, controls the emotional responses and emotional memory formation. The hippocampus, it manages the memory foundation and recall processes. The hypothalamus regulates bodily functions and emotional responses. And the last level is the reptilian brain. The bottom level includes the cerebellum and brainstem, controlling instinctive survival function, quick visual processing, and basic reflexes that trigger instant gut reaction. So the critical insight here is most marketing effectiveness happens in the emotional limbic system and survival-oriented reptilian brain before your rational thinking brain even gets involved in the decision-making process. So how does this complex system actually works in practice? First of all, it's about sensory input and perception. Your five senses, sight, hearing, smell, touch, and taste, provide sensory inputs that directly influence cognition, emotion, and behavior. However, perceptions are highly subjective, shaped by individual experiences and the dynamic interaction of multiple senses simultaneously. And the second one is the perceptual process. This involves four key stages: sensation, attention, interpretation, and response. Importantly, your attitudes, feelings, desires, and needs actively influence how stimuli are interpreted. Cognition and perception are tightly interconnected, with prior knowledge significantly shaping how you perceive brands and products. There are three types of memory storage. First type is sensory memory. Is a brief storage of sensory inputs lasting milliseconds to seconds, filtering relevant stimuli for further processing. The second type is short-term memory, aka the working memory. It's temporary storage for active mental tasks with limited capacity and duration from seconds to minutes. This enables learning, reasoning, and comparison of sensory information between different products. And the last type is the long-term memory. It stores meaningful information and experiences permanently, influencing brand recognition and long-term consumer decisions. Now let's talk about the brand, gender, and organizational differences. Men and women's brains are structurally and functionality different, leading to distinct sensory processing patterns. Brain gender differences are determined before birth by genetics and hormones foundation, particularly estrogen and testosterone. The limbic system and hypothalamus play crucial roles in shaping emotional and sensory processing patterns. There are key differences in consumer behavior, including for women, they are more empathetic and emotionally sensitive, prefer face to face communication, have stronger visual memory, and they are more sensitive to sound and smell. They like to compare products extensively and gather comprehensive information before making purchasing decisions. For men, they are more sympathetic, systematic, and logic focused, prefer quick decision making processes, and they are motivated primarily by function and competitive elements. They tend to make faster brain link decisions and they shop more efficiently with specific goals. So, what can we implicate for the shopping in here? This explains why women might spend considerable time regarding reviews and reading reviews and comparing options, while men often make rapid brain-based choices and prefer streamlined shopping experiences. So, how do scientists actually see what's happening inside your brain during purchase decisions? Well, neuromarketing examines how the brain unconsciously reacts to marketing stimuli, including products, advertisement, and packaging, using advanced brain scanning technologies to reveal emotional and behavioral drivers that go far beyond traditional self reported survey data. There are three main neuropsychological techniques, including, first of all, the EEG, electroencephalography, measures electrical brainwave activity, providing rapid responses data but lacking precise spatial resolution. The second one is the MEG, magnetoencephalography, captures magnetic fields generated by neural activity, offering better spatial accuracy, particularly for brain surface activity. And the last one is the fMRI, the functional magnetic resonance imaging tracks the blood flow changes to create high resolution images of brain activity and capable of mapping the deep brain structures and emotional responses. However, it involves high cost and technical complexity. And therefore, we have the benefits and ethical considerations. Neuromarketing provides objective insights into subconscious consumer reactions, helping marketers design more effective strategies based on actual brain responses rather than what people say they prefer. However, this raises important ethical concerns, including privacy protection, potential consumer manipulation, and the need for appropriate regulatory oversight. Let me give you an example that demonstrates how brand recognition overrides product attributes. It's the case of Coca-Cola versus Pepsi. In a landmark 2004 fMRI study, researchers conducted a fascinating comparison. It is a blind taste test. When participants couldn't see the brand labels, they were split roughly 50-50 between Pepsi's and Coca-Cola. But the results is really interesting. The Pepsi actually elicited stronger brain responses in taste related areas because it's slightly sweeter. However, the test results demonstrate that when the same people could see the brand logos, suddenly 3 out of 4 participants preferred Coca Cola. Here's why this happened. Because seeing the Coca Cola logo activated the memory and emotional centers in their brains, specifically areas associated with cultural identity, past experiences, and emotional attachment. So, the profound implication proves that the brand identity and emotional recognition can completely override objective product attributes in consumer preference formation. Your brain's emotional connections and brand memories are more powerful than logical, sensory based product evaluation every single time. So, in conclusion, what we have learned from today's lessons about the sensory brain, your brain processes information through three distinct levels. It's the rational thinking, emotional processing, and survival instinct. Your five senses create perception that gets stored in different types of memory systems, each serving different functions in decision making. Men and women process sensory information differently due to structural brain differences. And most importantly, scientists can now observe all of these processes happening in real time using advanced brain scanning technologies. Here are the references used in section 1 and 2 of sensory marketing. So, last but not least, your unconscious brain decides what to buy before your conscious mind even realizes a decision is being made. The emotional and survival parts of your brain are already three steps ahead of your rational thinking. Next time when you're shopping, remember your sensory experiences are silently shaping your choices at the deepest neurological level. And that's also the end of my presentation on section 1 and 2 of sensory marketing. Thank you so much for all of your attention.